So welcome tonight, everyone, to the Wellington Entrepreneur Social. I'm Cathy Sheppard, and I'm the City Leader for the Wellington Entrepreneur Social for the Entrepreneurs Institute. And I'd like to welcome everybody along to tonight. It's great to have some new faces here and some of the faces that we've seen in the past for our last socials. It's going to be another really great night tonight. So tonight we have Paulina Roach. She is a member of Roger Hamilton's community with Genius Institute, with the Entrepreneurs Institute and Genius U. She is a wonderful facilitator. She is a business coach. She is a serial entrepreneur. And tonight she's going to be sharing with us about leadership mindset, which is one thing that we absolutely and utterly need in this time as we've been facing so many different challenges. Now, a little bit about Paulina. She has been, 3 years ago, she completely pivoted her business, and she is in business in order to be able to help hospitality owners create and scale businesses that they love to be in. So brings a wealth of experience, a wealth of understanding to the evening, and there'll be the opportunity to do that Q&A at the end of it. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Paulina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for everyone who made the time to join me and listen to me waffle. So I tried my best to stick to the 20 minutes allocated, so a really high-level helicopter view on this, but let me share my presentation. I have not a lot of slides, 5 slides, but at least they keep me on track, and I can make sure that I'm actually talking about the things I'm supposed to talk, because I love sometimes to go off on a tangent. So let me just share my presentation. And can you guys see my presentation? Yeah? Perfect. Yes, awesome. All right, so today, the reason why I picked the subject or a topic or offered Cathy and Nick that I could talk about it is because it's something which has been really present over the last 6 to 8 weeks in our community here in the Mount. So I live in Mount Maunganui. I am a Kiwi by heart, but obviously you probably heard by the accent that I might not quite be born here or from here. So Kiwi at heart, definitely Mount Maunganui, my home, but originally born in Poland, spent 17 years living in Germany before I started traveling and went to, for 8 years, traveled the world. And New Zealand was one of our stopovers. That was about 14 years ago. So never kind of made it out of New Zealand, and I'll share a little bit more about my story shortly, but that's where the funny accent comes from. And here in the Mount, about 8 weeks ago, we started an initiative called Locals Supporting Locals. So it's local experts supporting local business owners through this unprecedented times. I had to say it, right? Whilst everyone is trying to pivot their business. So the biggest question they had is, right, like in amongst all that chaos, how do they look after themselves? So today we're going to briefly talk about just simple 3 topics. We're going to talk about leadership, self-care, and communication, right? While there are 3 key topics around what mindset you need around those. And before we kickstart, I'll share a little bit about myself. So thank you, Cathy, for the amazing introduction. I've probably been an entrepreneur and a business owner all my life. Like I was very lucky. I have my mother is a dentist who owns her own practice and is quite successful, big team, and lots of revenue and income and profit made. And my father is a serial entrepreneur of lots and lots of disasters. So, you know, like we all know this, where you have someone starting up a business after another, and they all quite not just make it, right? It is hard to find a gem amongst all of us. So I grew up in a household where it was really strict to, like, you have to have a traditional you have to go to university, you have to be traditional, you have to find yourself a solid job before you start building a business, because the entrepreneurial way wasn't working. That's all I learned. But when I was 7, I started my first business venture, negotiating with my father that he could trade my pocket money on the stock market. And the negotiation was that the business deal was that he could get my pocket money, but he had to guarantee me 100% risk-free. So the only person who made money on this deal was me, not so much my father, as you can imagine. But it taught me a lot about who I was at the time. And then I went down the typical pathway of finding myself a job. I studied hotel management, much to my parents' disgust, because they wanted me to be a dentist and take over the family business, right? And all I wanted to do all my life is travel. So by the time I turned 18, my parents had shifted and moved me around 48 times. So multiple kindergartens, multiple schools and high schools. And I very quickly became aware of the fact that home for me wasn't so much 4 walls in a place like most of us, but where the people are who I love. So I, from really young age, really learned that as long as I had my family around me, I was at home. So you'll find me traveling the world, sitting in a backpackers or a fancy hotel going and saying to my husband, oh, let's just go back home. And he's like, do you mean the hotel? And I'm like, yeah. So it's been a really interesting journey for me. And then started hotel management because I wanted to travel my whole life. That's my parents kind of got that for me. I was an exchange student in New Zealand when I was 16, and I just thought about what career can I start which I can do anywhere in the world. And hospitality and hotel management was one of those, right? So it took me to living in places like Egypt and Turkey and the Maldives, like really traveling the world. But I was always quite happy with that paycheck, because I always said I would have money guaranteed, and I have 4 weeks leave and sick leave, right? So they were the things I was thinking of all the time, because I saw my father as an entrepreneur not succeed not at all at that point. But what I was really good at is making myself redundant. So every job I went to over 2 or 3 years, I had this big belief that I was, as a leader and as a manager, I was only as good as the team without me. So my number one priority in everything I did was, how do I make myself redundant out of my job? Literally. So every 3 years, I got to this point where my manager or the CEO or the board were like, Paulina, you no longer need it. Which kind of carved the career path to becoming a business consultant. So 20 years in hospitality, doing anything from small incentives to major big events of 60,000 people, running multiple events companies and catering companies throughout my life. I decided about 10 years ago that I had enough of hospitality and I would jump into other places. So I became like the general manager of a valuation company here in New Zealand. Then I went into IT, into ECE, just trying to find where I wanted to go. But at the same time as I was doing that, I also had my own businesses. So I already had 3 ventures. I had an engineering business. I had an events company. Like, I was always on the go, always finding the next best project, right? Leading me into this career path of helping other businesses succeed and really think about becoming legacy businesses. What I mean with legacy is that the business is A, not reliant on you, and B, it's a sellable asset in the end. So if you understand hospitality, most people is like chefs, gonna go and have a restaurant, and then they work 80 hours a week because it's their name on the wall, it's their meals, and when they come to sell, they have nothing to sell because everything is reliant on their reputation. So I wanted to make a shift and a difference in that industry. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. I'm an open book, but really working with business owners on changing their mindset. So first of all, I wanted to share with you guys, and I know that Cathy and Nick work with this as well, is about 3 years ago, Roger James Hamilton, who is also the founder of the Entrepreneur Socials, he has created a tool, a profile tool, which is called the Wealth Dynamics Profile Square. And what it is basically like DISC and Myers-Briggs and Strength Finder. It's a personality tool which will tell you a little bit more about yourself. But what I love about this particular tool is it's really specialized in entrepreneurship and focusing on what are you good at. So the whole point of getting a personality type test of this 2 is either getting to know yourself a little bit better, or getting to know other people in your team better, so you know how to communicate with them, how to lead them, how they learn, etc. And as you probably all experience through school or your jobs or in your businesses, people always talk about focusing on the weaknesses and improving your weaknesses, while that tool really helps you to go and say, okay, I know what I'm not good at. Let's move this to the side, outsource it, delegate it, delete it out of my job, and move into what I am really good at and what brings me into flow where I can be really productive. So when I first met this or seen this tool, I did the test. I figured out that I was a tempo energy trader, which I'll share a little bit about shortly. But I loved the tool so much that I got our engineering business, everyone in our engineering business, to do that profile test. And we went that far that we threw out all the job description and rewrote our job description based on what their strengths were in their jobs, right? And filled the gaps of the people who didn't. We, within 18 months, reduced our workload from working 100 hours a week to me working only 1 day a week, and my husband and my our other business partner only working part-time in the business, while we increased revenue by, I think, I can't remember, something like 800,000, and improved the profit line by 150%. Like, it was quite significant, only by shifting people into being productive in what they're good at, rather than looking at their weaknesses. So just a brief summary: Dynamo energy is very high level, creative, visionary, right? The people who are really fast, they go, oh my God, like, have a million ideas at the same time. You ask them about one of these ideas they've thrown at you and they can't remember it anymore because they're already 10 ideas ahead, right? Like, really think the Richard Bransons in the world, right? Who are constantly have something new on the go and have a dream. Nick, are you Dynamo energy?
No, actually, I'm a steel.
Oh, you're steel energy, even better. Yeah. All right. Then on the other side, because I know, Cathy, you're a star, right?
Yeah, I'm a star. Yeah. Blaze energy all the way.
Blaze energy. Yeah. All right. So then on the other side, you have the tempo energy, which is all about being down to earth, action takers, project management, right? Really making sure that they connect all the pieces in the puzzle, and they're very focused on customer service and delivery, making sure that your customers are being looked after. While Blaze energy is all about networking, supporting, right? Like connecting people. We all have someone in our friend circle or in our team who, like, go to a networking event or to a party, they've spoken to every single human being in the party, know what they had for breakfast, how many children they have, right? Like, where they're going on holiday. Like, even like talking about it makes me exhausted, but that's like our Cathy, right? The connector. While then we have Nick on the other side, steel energy, where it's all about attention to detail, being really focused and reviewing and analyzing. So sometimes the conversation between Blaze and steel is pretty funny, because the Blaze energy goes and says, hi, how are you doing? And then Nick is going, what do you want? Yeah, something along those lines. So why do I share this tool with you? It is really important to not only understand who you are, but also who other people are. And depending on where you are on the, like, in the square, you have a different way of how you're going to cope with your mind and with your with the people around you. So for example, steel and tempo energy, they are very introverted and sensory, focusing on not so much that they can't talk to people, but they are solving problems by going inwards and like really focusing inside of themselves around how they solve a problem, how they want to communicate to their teams, etc. While Dynamo and Blaze energy, they are all out there broadcasting every thing they have, like the feelings on the sleeve, because they need to talk it through. It's not that they want to create massive drama, but they need other people to connect with to be solving a problem. As a leader, it is like, it's quite, from a mindset perspective, it's quite important to know, am I an introvert or an extrovert? Do I solve the problem by going inwards, or do I solve the problem by going outwards, right? So moving on from that square, which I recommend everyone to do, and I know Nick and Cathy have all the links if you guys decide that you want to do it, and they can debrief you on what it specifically means, because I could speak hours about the subject. But from a leader, it's like you need to define what does leadership mean and who do you want to be as a leader. And mindset wise, the big thing people don't realize is that every single one of us is a leader. It doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you're a father, if you're a brother, it doesn't matter if you're a team member. Every single one of us is a leader, and we can choose to either show up or not, right? Like we can choose to go and say we are the ones going to lead by example, or we are the ones who are following. But even if you follow, you're still leading the people who are around you. So it is really important to realize that it doesn't matter what your position is and what your life is like. You're always within your community and within your life, you are a leader in one way or another, even if it is just leading your own way and making decisions as you go. Can I, in the comments, people share if they are business owners or if they are employees here, just so that I get a little bit of a understanding? That would be awesome, because then I can speak directly to that. So
This is number chat.
Awesome. So even like when you go perfect sole trader, business owner, employee, as a sole trader, you probably think, I'm only responsible for myself and no one else. But you also have suppliers and customers and potentially contractors you contract in who you show up as a leader in one form or another. With employees, you have, like, if you're an employee, even better, you're still showing up as a leader. And I love that we have employees here, because we're going to share quickly about mindset. And I have like 5 minutes, so I have to be really fast. So really show up, who are you as a leader and what does it mean to you? Really realizing that you are a leader in any particular form. So now important thing is, as the crisis happens, any crisis, is one thing we forget to do is to put the mask on ourselves before we look after others. We've heard this analogy from an airplane, and it is true as a leader, that we end up dealing with everyone else, and when we are left burned out. So that leads then to frustration, stress, right? Like we go into why are we doing this? Is it even worthwhile? And it snowballs from that perspective. So here are a couple of tips of what you need to do first. First of all, is you need to, in every crisis, doesn't matter how stressed you are, how big the project, how big the crisis, even in COVID-19, you need to first of all book some time in for yourself. Put it into your calendar, call it whatever you like. If you don't want your employees to know that this time is self-care time, call it something else. Meeting with John Doe. People don't need to know what it is, but make sure you schedule some regular time for yourself. And then I recommend for anyone to create a self-care list. So name 10 things, and feel free to put it in the chat, of a few things you do purely for yourself. So self-care can look in many ways. Some people exercise, right? Some people read a book or have a glass of wine. Some people have a bath. The best one I've ever heard is people saying that self-care is sex with their partner. It's like, oh, I'll claim that, right? So what is it that makes you feel better? So feel free to put a few things in so that we can share as a collective of what they are. So walking, listening to music, connecting with other people, being a blaze energy. Self-care is go out there, meet other people. Gardening, going inward. So really, I recommend that every single person has 10 items on their list and work on that, really like focusing, because when you are stressed and you are in a crisis, you forget what actually feeds you. So if you have a list somewhere which says there are the 10 things, from short, 10-minute things or breathing exercises to long hours, if you have that, you can always reconnect. So when you are in that panic and in your head of going, oh my God, what am I going to do? You can always bring yourself back. Be honest with yourself and with others. The key to leadership and mindset is to be vulnerable. Like COVID-19 crisis, no one of us experienced it ever again. It's not going to hurt you as a business owner or as an employee to go and say, excuse my French, shit, I don't have an answer. Let's talk about it together. So it is about collaboration and being collective. For the people who are steel energy, Nick, and tempo energy, who are introverted, we tend to hide in our cubbyhole and try to resolve it ourselves. In a crisis, while you're trying to look after everyone else, it is really important that you actually reach out to your team and to your collaborative partners and say, how are we going to solve this together? Because no one of us has a straight answer. There's 100 million ways of needing to do what we need to do. Yeah. And another thing which I haven't got on here but is really important is when you are in that moment where you're like, oh my God, I have all those people to look after, I have all those people screaming at me going in it, think about what, I urge every single person to think about their worst case scenario. So if your life would be over as it is right now, which we all have it, right? Our life is not, I love the wine, Nick. Our life is not no longer as it was. Most of us have this worst case scenario, which is like, I'm going to be living with my family under the bridge with cardboard paper over the top, right? Eating out of, I don't know, the rubbish bins. In reality, your worst case scenario is not going to look like that. So I encourage everyone to go and say, okay, if I have no money now, what alternative options will I have? I will have to live with my parents? Will I have to need flatmates? And right, like, what is the scenario going to look like? Because once you know your real, true, and honest worst case scenario, life isn't that bad. I promise. Because there's always alternatives, and it's like easier to find an answer to worst case scenario when you're not in it than when you're actually living it. Yep. All right. I have struggles with my sheets. So last but not least, we have a communication. So in any crisis, and when you're actually in the mindset of, oh my God, I don't know what's happening, it is really easy for all of us to shut down or to create drama, right? Stick to the facts. So when you're with your team, be vulnerable. Tell them that you might not have the answers. Give them the answers you have. Make sure that the rhythm of communication is frequent. So you might have touched base in a team meeting once a week, if you need to do it every couple of days or every day, because if you're feeling vulnerable and you are in a panic, everyone else is as well. So it is much easier to just go to the team and say, look, I haven't got all the answers. What do you think? I've seen so many amazing examples over the last 8 weeks where every single business owner who evolved their business, not pivoted, but evolved their businesses and still managed to tip over and make revenue, said, every single business owner said to us, it is actually the team who came up with that idea. Right? Because they are as invested as you are. You are invested in the business. The employees are invested in having a job. So it's their time to shine, right? If you're an employee, I really urge you to think about thinking about the business owner. So the business, you are thinking about yourself, about your family, about your community, about how you're going to survive. Not thinking, I'm generalizing here. I know that there's amazing team members who do, but like not thinking about what's the business owner up to. The business owner worries about their community, their family, their business, your community, your family, your employment check, and multiple times over different business, different team members. So replicate. If someone goes and says, "I'm really, I really don't have the answer here," step up. Right? We all have, as a collective, have to step up. Client communication, really important that you throughout this whole thing, just go and, even if you say you don't have the answers, just go and say, look, we're working through this. As a team, we'll keep you updated and stay in communication. Suppliers and key stakeholders, really important that you don't stop communicating with them, but actually talk to them about, this is where we at, right? Like, how can we negotiate, or how can we find a solution together that both businesses succeed and we all succeed together. And then family, your wife or husband, be honest with them. This is the first thing a lot of us forget, right? We go and say we need to solve this ourselves. We don't want to burden our wives or husbands with the problems we have. Guess what? You married them because they were your best friends, your soulmates, and you wanted to share the rest of your lives together. So don't stop sharing now when you're in this rough patch. Yeah. Children, you know, like, communicate them, obviously simple, in a simpler form, but communicate with them that what's going out there is changing and that you're working through the process. So definitely communication is key to any mindset. So stop living in your head, go out there, share it with people. Hey, Nick. Yes, and that's pretty much me. The thing I will leave you with is one thing: the power of now. So if you are finding yourself in the mindset of shit, how do I look after everyone else and look after myself, keep reminding yourself that we can only control one moment, and it is now. Now goes like this, right? Constantly, you can't even say a word without a moment disappearing. So when you're feeling yourself stressed and worked up, go back into the, am I okay right now? Don't project what's going to happen in the future or think about what happened in the past. But in that moment right now, where are you? Right? Are you okay? Are you able to function right now, right here? So when COVID-19 hit, everyone is like, oh my God, in 3 months' time, I don't have a job. We don't know that. It's an unknown. Do you have a job right now? Do you have a business right now? Do you have enough revenue coming in right now to help you? Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Be yourself, because everyone else is taken, right? Like, I really truly believe this. And if you guys like to connect with me and have a conversation over a coffee one-on-one, pick up your phone right now while this slide is still up. Take a photo of the QR code. It will take you directly to my calendar where you can book a session with me. I would love to have a conversation with you guys, because that's all I do every day. Talk to business owners and people around. So feel free to just scan it in. I'm going to give you another 10 seconds, and then I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And over to you, Cathy.
Okie dokie. Well, now it's QA time. Thank you so much, Paulina, for that. What questions have people got for Paulina? I haven't seen any questions in the chat box at all. So I'd love to hear some questions from people.
Oh, I'll kick off. Hey, Paulina, thanks for that. I was really interested when you were sharing at the beginning of your presentation about running multiple businesses at quite a young age. I'm interested to hear, you know, how did you cope with that? And then what made you, at what point did you decide to kind of shed yourself of all that burden and narrow down your focus, and what difference did that make to you as an entrepreneur?
Awesome question. So I come from an environment in Germany where working 80, 100 hours a week is normal, right? Unemployment rate is high. If you don't perform, they replace you. So it's something which has been ingrained in me. So when I started, I came to New Zealand and people talked about work-life balance. I was like, what the hell is a work-life balance? Isn't work-life? Right? Like, that was the equivalent for me. So I worked good 100 hours because I was committed to the course. What has happened is in 2009, I walked the Camino. This is the part of the story I left out, but I walked the Camino, and when I was walking the Camino, I suddenly realized that this is not the life I wanted. I don't know if you guys know what the Camino is. It's an 860K walk through Spain. So you start in France and then go to the other end of Spain. So while I was doing that, I really realized I didn't want to work all my life. Like, that wasn't just in my nature. So I set this goal that in 2019, I would walk the Camino, a different route, but the Camino again. And that time I would have all the time I wanted. So for 10 years, I was like, how can I streamline businesses? How can I make money without having to be there? How can I have teams working for me so that I don't have to show up? So much so that last year in July, I then went to Europe. I spent 5 months in Spain, just doing whatever I wanted, working with 3 businesses, working only 1 day a week. So on Tuesdays, I had my laptop in my backpack. I walked the whole way, and I did that. But it really took a life-changing moment, like walking 800 Ks, for me to realize that there's more things in life than work. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And can I, if I could ask with one follow-up then, so what do you think is the key thing to sort of, when you talk about running a business so you can remove yourself from it and the business still runs itself? Because I mean, I think as business owners, that's the ultimate goal for us all, isn't it? What would you say is the key to achieving that?
Good question. So first of all, you need to remove yourself from the business in the sense of, like, mentally, in the sense of this isn't my baby, right? Because we all do that. It's like, my business is my baby. It's like, don't touch my baby, don't hurt it. And so we end up working ourselves into the business. Everything I do with the business owners I work with is I go and say, all right, what is your personal end goal, right? That could be being retired by 40, for example, or financially free by 40. And then I go and say, okay, your business is a vehicle to get you to your end goal, personal end goal. What that does is it removes that, oh my God, it's my baby, I want to hold on to it, because you have a greater goal than being a business owner, right? Once you do that, your mindset changes to, okay, how do I streamline and make it perform like any other investment? So as business owners, you might have, shares or Bitcoin or Forex or whatever. You are not emotionally attached to that. You are making money. And with any other investment, you go and say, okay, how do I streamline that investment for myself? Yeah. And then when you make that detachment, it is much easier to put a team structure in place and let go. The other side to this is, once you've got there, is obviously team leadership. So how do you, knowing the people you're working with, how do you empower them to do the best thing? So you think you're an expert in everything. I can tell you you're not. I haven't even met you. This is the first time I've met you guys. I can tell you right now that you're not experts in everything. So hire the experts in their fields and trust them to do the job they are meant to do. That's what you're paying them for. You're not paying an expert so you can tell them what to do, right? You're hiring an expert so that they're going to do whatever they need to do. So really key to make that shift, I would say.
Thanks.
No worries.
Right, I've got a question for you, Paulina, and that's what's the biggest challenge that you've faced in business?
Going into liquidation.
Right.
So I did everything from making $1 million businesses to going belly up and having to write off 6-figure debts and having to repay them. That's a tough one. So going in a good skill set to have as a business consultant, to go and say you've been through liquidation, knowing where the business owner feels. But I think biggest challenge is not so much the liquidation, but deciding that the business is in a situation that you have to put it into liquidation, right? And then like the moment of going, but if I just hold on, like making the decision that actually that investment is costing me more than it's making me, is especially if it's your baby, it's the toughest decision challenge I've had personally.
And how did you get yourself through that in terms of, moving on from that?
Yeah, so funnily enough, once you make the decision, it's really easy. It's getting to that stage, and getting to that stage, the way I did it is I got an expert in, right? Like I had a business consultant. I was like other people, have experienced probably in the past. I worked myself, 40, 50, 80 hours a week, trying to commit to that business and going, why does it not work? Right? So I got a business consultant in myself. Like I even now, if you are a consultant, you should have a consultant on your own. That's one of those things I believe you should truly have. So I got a consultant in, and they made me grow personally, made me realize that the business wasn't getting me to my end goal. So, and once I realized that actually it's taking me further away from my goal than getting me to my goal, it was a really easy decision to be made, because I was more committed to my goal than to the business.
Yeah, I love that thought of having that outside advice, and I think that is really, really important for everybody, whether they're a business owner or a consultant.
So the consultant who made me realize this was actually Roger. So it was funny, because when I met Roger 3 years ago, I said to him, oh, we are here with this business, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, by the time I'm finished with you, you're not going to have the business. First day, he said that to me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he could already pick in the first conversation that the business wasn't getting me to the goal I wanted to go. I just needed to get clearer on the goal, right?
And that's one of the things that I've seen as well, is that importance of having that vision, of knowing where you're heading, knowing the sort of life that you're wanting, and then being able to create that from there.
I love, like, I can show you, like, this is my corner. These are my goals. So what I do is every year in December, I set myself goals, 3 to 5 goals in my life. And this is what I wrote in December. I want, like last year, I traveled 9 months out of the year, right, with my business. So I said I wanted more quality time with my husband, and I wanted to consolidate and simplify my life. 2 goals in this year. And suddenly we're in COVID-19 level 4, sitting at home, consolidating. I'm like, I'm really sorry if I was the one calling it out of the universe, but I really, So I think if you set out what you want to do, you manifest of it, and you make it happen subconsciously. Like, it doesn't matter of your beliefs, if you believe in the universe or God or whatever, but subconsciously you're working towards whatever you set yourself out to do, right? So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you, Paulina, very, very much. Has anybody got any last questions? One more question, because I'd like to be able to hand it over to Nick, and he's going to talk about the Crisis Leadership Academy, which is starting next week. But has anybody else got one last question? Anything at all?
Thank you for listening to me waffle on. I hope you got a couple of takeaways from this.
No, it's been absolutely great. Thank you very, very much, Paulina, for sharing that tonight. You're sharing your story and sharing some of those challenges that you faced and how you've got through them. It is not an easy life being a business owner, and the number of businesses that you've been able to support, making their own journeys and so on, has been really, really useful. So thank you for your insights in that.
Pleasure, thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Nick to talk about the Crisis Leadership Academy. So, handing over to you.
Thanks, Cathy. And thanks again, Paulina. That was great to hear your stories. I've got 3 things I'd just like to share with everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you've got all that. So, 3 things I want to share with you. First of all, to let you know about an event that's happening this evening, actually at 8 p.m. tonight. And this is the Crisis Leadership Summit. Some of you may have already tuned into, this is the 3rd part of a 3-part series that Roger Hamilton has been running, and you've heard us talk a little bit about Roger tonight. So Roger's the founder of the Entrepreneurs Institute. And tonight, Roger is interviewing 10 entrepreneurs from right around the world, including myself. And we're all sharing about our experiences in this COVID crisis, and talking about what response we've had to the crisis. So we've got 10 different experts. It's a big global event. I think at the moment there's about 13,000 people registered to attend this event. So you'll be hearing different perspectives of how people have responded to the crisis, and what they've done to pivot their business, or how they've responded to the crisis. So really encourage you to register and be part of this event tonight. I will put in the chat, or maybe Cathy, you could put in the chat the link to the summit tonight.
Yep.
So it's a two-hour event. A lot of value to be had. You'll be getting a lot of insights from, as I said, from different entrepreneurs. And Roger Hamilton, who heads up the Entrepreneurs Institute, will be sharing about some of the things you can be doing to grow your business in this time. And there's an opportunity that will come out of the summit, which is to join the Crisis Leadership Academy. The Crisis Leadership Academy is a 4-week training program where you will get training on how to create a successful digital business. So let me just stop sharing that for a moment and come over to the that's back to the same screen I had on my screen. Where there it is. Here's the Crisis Leadership Academy. So are you seeing that now, the Crisis Leadership Academy?
Yes.
Fantastic. So this is a training program starting on Monday, 4-week program, but it's a part-time program, so you can continue to do it as you're doing your ordinary businesses and your work. So you're getting coaching from the academy. So we've got experts from all over the world giving their expert training. And Paulina is, who you've just been listening to, is going to be one of the facilitators leading one of the streams in the academy. One of the key things about this training is that you can join at any level of your business. So I'm just going to scroll down here to this part of the information. So there's training for people who are in freelance. So anyone that's working for themselves, looking to set up a digital business, working for themselves. Also people in the digital startup. You're looking to convert, or you're just getting going in the digital space. And then the third stream is the enterprises. These are well-established businesses, might be earning 100,000 plus maybe a month, but you've hit this crisis and you're looking at how do I turn my business into a digital success story. So those are the three, I guess, opportunities, or the three types of business that would be that you can join as a stream in terms of the training that you're going to get. Paulina, if you'd like to just maybe share a little bit about what people can expect if they were to take on this training in any of those streams.
Yes, thank you. There's so much to share, so I could take another hour, so I try not to. Basically, what I love about this training is there's a couple of things. One is you get a really solid structure and accountability in the sense of if you hadn't, like, especially in the digital freelance and the digital startup phase, right? Like where you have a small business, the digital startup is not just for new ideas, but also for small businesses or solo traders or solopreneurs. So really a clear structure of how you should run promotions digitally, as well as like within your teams and within your suppliers, but also like the mentors and the facilitation is just outstanding. Like we have mentors from all around the world specializing in those things. So if you're an employee and you're quite keen to create yourself additional laptop income with the skills you have, right? Like it will really narrow down like which area should you go down to and how to set yourself up as a freelancer. As a solopreneur or digital startup, it sets you up and really like how do you run a profitable promotion that you're generating revenue. And then from an enterprise perspective, it really focuses on how do you make your team, this is what I was talking about in the engineering business we did, how do you make your team work effectively and empowered so that A, you don't have to micromanage them, but B, that they feel like they are the leaders in their fields, right, working for you. So, and there's some amazing guest mentors we have in those specialized fields. So we talk about we cover a personal side, like your purpose, your ikigai, your future vision, which we talked about. We cover things like who's your customer, really getting clear to the bottom of the customer. What's their problem? What is your compelling offer? So really like what is your solution to that problem and how can you then advertise it? But overall, what I think is really cool about this is that it is the way it's laid out and set up is that you have always someone you can ask a question to. So your facilitator, like if you have me as a facilitator, you know, we have live Q&As where you can really ask your business specific questions. but also it empowers you to set up what you're working on right then and there. So it gives you plenty of time to implement in between, but in 4 weeks time, you have initiated that bit you wanted to initiate. Super cool. I'm excited about this. I'm going to learn so much from this. It's really cool.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Paulina. And yeah, I guess the key thing is that you will be taking a business idea that you have and actually incubating it in a super quick time in 4 weeks. So the promise of the program is you come in with your business idea, and in 4 weeks' time, you've got a digital business ready for the market. So really super cool, very exciting.
For the sole traders in our room, I think it's also like, it might not be a startup idea, but you might go and say, I wanted to always, and sorry to use that word again, but I always wanted to pivot into this area, right? Then it, like it could be a product you want to launch rather than a startup idea. And it helps you really to figure out how do you generate the funnel and the money coming in, so that idea, to test drive the idea and make it successful.
Cool. Hey, thanks for that, Paulina. Yeah, look, hopefully that's something that is of interest to you. The webinar tonight will give you some more insight into the summit. And tonight I just want to let you know about a really exciting opportunity that is one of the global partners of the Crisis Leadership Academy that I've got, is that I've got one free spot going in the Crisis Leadership Academy for one budding entrepreneur or one budding business owner in New Zealand to join the program for free. So I'm taking applications at the moment. So if you
can I apply?
If you are interested in this opportunity, or you know someone who might be interested in this opportunity, then I really invite you to check out the information, join the webinar tonight. In the webinar, you begin an opportunity to apply, but if you want to take up the opportunity of this sponsored free space, then you'll need to get in touch with myself and apply for that opportunity, and the applications are open until Saturday the 16th of May. So it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for one person to get a great opportunity to join the program.
So Nick, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so
how do we do this?
Let me stop sharing now, and I'm going to just
I've just put your email address in the chat.
There we go, Cathy. Cathy's one step ahead of me. Awesome. So my email address is in the chat there. So grab a copy of that. And if you would like to apply, or you know someone would like to apply, just drop me a line. And then, as I said, I'm taking applications, and I'm going to be announcing the winner of that free spot on Saturday.
Thank you so much for that,
awesome.
Nick. That's
great. If
great.
you've got any questions, just right now on that, we've got a couple of minutes. I'll take any questions. Otherwise, we can leave it back to Cathy to wrap up.
Can that be nationwide, or is it Wellington based?
No, anywhere. It's limited to New Zealand businesses, but anywhere across the country. So any say budding entrepreneur or business owner who wants to grow a digital revenue stream.
And how do you choose the winner? What are the criteria?
The criteria, I decided on, I guess, who's got the most enthusiasm, who's got the best business idea, someone whose story really resonates in terms of taking up the opportunity and really wants to kind of, take up a life-changing situation, a life-changing opportunity.
I've got so many people in my mind. I'm going to get bombarded with
Brilliant. Send them on.
That's great, Nick. That would be really good to be able to offer that through the Facebook page and
yes,
get that out there as well. That would be fantastic,
yeah.
So that people can apply there. That would be fantastic. And thank you for that.
I'll file that out shortly.
Fantastic.
That is such an awesome opportunity. So if I was you guys, I would straight away go and send Nick an email. He's going to love having 12 emails in one night saying pick me.
Can I apply, Nick?
I think the biggest thing we probably haven't quite shared is, two things. One, we have the amazing Nick doing one of the mentoring sessions, I believe, as well. At least you might not know this yet, but I have you in my schedule, so I know you are part of it. And the other one is we have Roger every week, right? Like, and that's unheard of,
Mm.
that Roger himself shows up every week to give some guidance and feedback on what you're working on. So I don't know if you
Fantastic.
have you ever shared about who is Roger?
Oh yes, well,
Roger Hamilton.
We have various different circles and meetups. Not so much on this one, but so anyone that's curious about, I guess the Entrepreneurs Institute and the work of Roger Hamilton and the amazing team, the best thing you can do is jump on this webinar tonight. It'll be a 2-hour crash course in this community and the learnings and teachings you can get through specifically for entrepreneurs, people looking to actually cut their own path in life.
Awesome.
Warning on him. He talks incredibly fast, so get your ears into gear and just run with it. He's
I believe that YouTube should, just for Roger, have a slow down button. You know how you've got the speed up and you can speed up to 1.5 or 2.0. I think he needs a 0.5 to capture everything. He is amazing. Yeah, and super fast.
And I have suggested that to people, actually. Don't listen to him live. Record him and go back and listen to him later at 0.75. But no, he's great. Just let it sort of wash over you, and he's just absolutely amazing in terms of how he talks and things. So, and what he talks about, the content is incredible, which is why Nick and Cathy and Paulina are all totally on board with this community, because it's been an absolutely life-changing journey to be on it and part of his community. So yeah, highly recommend it. How I came across this community was I got given a free ticket to an event in Auckland, and it was just like, oh yep, I'll do that. And so booked to go, but didn't have a look at any details, and then got to Auckland and thought it was probably time to have a look at a little bit more details of what I was going to be attending the next day. Useful for a star, eh? They never look at all of the details beforehand. It's not important. But the night before, I'm looking at this thing going, entrepreneur, that's not me. What am I doing? Why am I here? Why have I spent all this money to come to Auckland to go to this event? But the next morning I did go along, and it was the most incredible 3 days that I've ever had in my, at that stage that I had that year anyway. And just what an amazing journey to be on. So
I have a very similar story. I went there, didn't know even who Roger was, so I googled him, and that was big mistake, right? Like, you go down the rabbit hole anyway, and I was like, what the hell did I get myself into? And then half a day later I had signed up to his business mentoring, and I found myself traveling to China and Japan with him and 50 other entrepreneurs, and all of it in 3 hours. God know how he managed that, but just the wealth of knowledge he has is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. Okie dokie. I'd love to hear from everybody, please. What was most useful from tonight? What did you enjoy? What did you learn? Who's first?
I'd just like to say thank you, Paulina. It was a really good presentation, and although you talked about mindset for leadership, it wasn't in that panic or crisis doom and gloom sort of thing that we've been hearing so much of, and it was a real positive look at leadership. Thank you.
Cool. Okie dokie. Thank you. Alan, what about you? What was most useful tonight?
Just listening to someone, I guess, reiterate some good points around mindset and focusing on what you're doing and those around you. Some of the various influences in life and goals, and too much of an analytical to do post-it notes in the board behind me, but it looks good. Not my, I couldn't do it. Oh, well, no, not my thing, but it's good to see different.
Do I detect a little bit of steel energy there, Alan?
could be a little bit, could be. Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Martin? What was most useful for you tonight?
I think about 2 weeks after we had the shutdown announcement, the level 4 announcement, somebody said to me, well, can you think of something good that's coming out of this? and I had an epiphany that I could not think of a good thing that was going on at that point. I was so entrenched in WTF. And gradually since then, everything that you talked about tonight's kind of come true. You start to step away from it and depersonalize it and break down what it is that you can do, what you are able to do, and what potential can come out of it. But it really needs you to focus on your, what I think of as an internal dialogue, and to change that dialogue first.
The stories we tell ourselves, they are amazing, and serve you zero.
Yeah.
Like, totally.
And so now it's a little bit at the other end of the, you know, where's the opportunity in this? And it's different. I mean, it's still very much what the F at 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, but it's different. It's getting there.
Awesome, Martin. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Dara, what about you? What's been useful for you from tonight?
Jump off mute. What's been useful? Just hearing your story, Paulina. You're so, wow. Feeling a bit like there's so much. Yeah, just hearing about all the different ventures and stuff that you've been on. I'm currently trying to start something, so it's nice to hear that you've done so many things as well, and that, like, yeah, if that kind of makes sense. I'm not articulating what I'm thinking very well, but yeah, just hearing that you've done so much and that, yeah, you've kind of tried a bit of everything is really inspiring. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for
That's the
sharing.
life of an entrepreneur. We never do only one thing at a time.
Madeline, what about you? What's been useful?
The idea of leaders writing down 10 things that they need to do for their own self-care before they need it, I thought that was a really crisp, lovely strategy, and I'm going to steal it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And use that not only for myself but for other people. And Nick, I really like the idea of thinking about how to create more of a digital business. And so I'm sending you an email. Yeah. So thank you. It's been really great. And thank you, Cathy, for setting it up.
Yep, no problem. Awesome. And Sarah's just jumped out and she said, like Dara, I really was inspired by the stories you shared, Paulina. Incredible life and mindsets and adventures. Ka kite anō, everybody. So that's a message from Sarah. So Nick, what about you? What's been most useful from tonight?
I think I think Paulina said something very early on about leadership as a choice. Yeah. And everyone are leaders, and I think that's something that we just all have to keep in mind. You are actually leading people all the time through. You have a choice in every moment how to be, and you're actually leading people through, you know, the choices that you make. So it's not just about people who are managers or at the top of the spectrum or top of the hierarchy who are our leaders. We are all leading each other constantly, and you have a choice in how you lead people. And if we all kind of take that message on board, we can be a bit more responsible for our actions in the moment.
Fantastic. Thank you. It's very true. Everyone is a leader, and that's something that's been very much a part of my practice, as well as believing that every single person is a leader. So yeah, thank you so much, Paulina, for tonight. I'd just like to let everybody know we will be running this again next month, the second Thursday of the month, and next time we have the wonderful Jo Jensen from Strictly Savvy, the Savvy School and all of those sorts of things. She's developing another entrepreneur with lots and lots of different areas that she's working in, and she's going to be coming and talking about the inward and outward journey of an entrepreneur. So you get what you see on the outside, and then you get the, oh shit, how do I get through this part here that's happening on the inside. So she will tell you that story of an entrepreneur's journey from the inside and from the outside. So I'm really looking forward to being able to share that. Yeah, so look forward to seeing you again next month. We may also be able to do an extra there's lots of people who are willing to come and share online and be able to talk. So look out for some bonus events and things like that we will be offering as well. So yeah, thanks very, very much for coming, everybody. Sorry, we've gone a little bit over time, but it's been awesome having you, Paulina, tonight. So thank you so much, and all the best for the Crisis Leadership Academy next week.